Greetings, ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to this tank review of the Type 97 Teke, or Tiki. I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it. This was a gift tank. I can't remember the reason for giving it away, but it was a gift tank from Wargaming at some point. It's a Tier 2 Japanese light premium tank. Now, historically, these things were manufactured in the hundreds. Actually, this was a little tankette. And it was used by the Empire of Japan in a number of conflicts in the Asian theatre. This is both before and in the early parts of the Second World War. And it was actually, it was designed to be kind of a light reconnaissance vehicle, but it was actually quite successful in its use. And its success, for example, at the beginning of the Second World War, was perhaps greater than one might have expected of such a small, lightweight machine that would have probably been outclassed in a European theatre. But a lot of the combat that it saw was in places where a larger, heavier, more modern machine would have really struggled to actually get to. And so the Teke actually managed to be kind of in the right place at the right time, if you will. So what do we have in the game? Well, it's a Tier 2 light premium tank. 160 hit points, it's there or thereabouts for a Tier 2 tank. Tier 2 machines tend to have somewhere in the 140 to sort of 170 kind of range, so 160 hit points is fair enough. It's only a roughly 5-ton machine, it's not very heavy, but it only has a 65 horsepower engine, giving it a specific power of 13.4 horsepower per ton, which is... well, you have to remember that this is a low-tier light tank. It's not a light tank in the same way that the, MT-25 is a light tank, where it's lightning quick. At Tier 2, in terms of functionality, light tanks are your generic combat tanks. So, the horsepower per ton ratio is not great, but it gets the job done. Top speed of 42 kilometers an hour, again, it's not great, but it gets the job done. Traverse speeds are not too shabby. The armor is so bad, I'm not even going to bother showing you any sort of armor model for this. Basically, anything that looks at it will penetrate. The only way you might mitigate some damage is if someone, just for example, was pointing some low-caliber HE, much like a Teke itself, at you, and then you might not get penetrated by it. But frankly, if you're relying on the armor, you're doing it wrong. Talk more about the gun in a moment. View range of 300 meters, which is actually pretty terrible, but I don't think it's massively worse than comparable Tier 2 machines. 320 for the Cruiser 3, 300 for the Light 6C. What about the Americans? I know I've got a Tier 2 light tank or two for them. T2 gets 260 actually, wow, that's bad. T1E6, 260, T7 Combat Car, 280, they're all pretty terrible. And I know I've got a French one. D1 gets 300. So actually, although it looks pretty poop, 300 meter view range is actually not terrible. 400 meter signal range is nothing to get excited about. You're very restricted at Tier 2 on what maps you can get into, and they tend to be smaller maps, so that's not horrendous. What about the gun then? Well, the first thing I should mention about this gun, let's start on a high. This tank gets 13 degrees of gun depression to the front and 15 everywhere else, which is really, really, really good. And they're the good news ends. You get this little 37mm pop gun. 20 rounds per minute. Yeah, that's unaltered. That's, of course, 1 round every 3 seconds. I've got vents on mine, which will beef that up a little bit, and, 100% crew, potentially, and all that jazz. 40mm of average penetration. This sucks. If this thing got limited matchmaking so that it only saw Tier 2 games, this would be just about workable, although you'd still struggle with things like Panzer IIs and T-18s, although the T-18 is now an artillery piece, isn't it? You'd still struggle with things like Panzer IIs and Hotchkisses and whatnot. But this thing sees Tier 3 games as well. This is poop. 59 penetration with premium armor piercing, which is still poop. And your damage values are 45. HE rounds, 18 pens, 60 damage. It's not worth loading the HE. 0.4 dispersion at 100 meters, which, although it looks terrible for a Tier 2 machine, is actually not horrendous. 2.2 second aim time when you factor in the bloom values as well, and the rate of fire. This is actually, well, it's not great. But again, at Tier 2, There's much worse going around. So, this 37mm gun is adequate at best and kinda naff at worst. It's not a particularly good weapon. There's no grind for this machine, of course, it being a little gift tank, so I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about module locations either, because it's tier 2. No one's aiming for module locations. You just aim for centre of mass. Your guns are as accurate as a blunderbuss. You just aim for centre of mass, shoot, hope you penetrate. You probably will, because the armour's absolutely woeful. Bazinga. Move on. What about equipment? Well, you can see I've got improved vents mounted. I mean, whether you'd want to mount vents or not is up to you. It's a 50,000 credit piece of equipment. It cost me 25,000 credits because I always buy this stuff on discount. I mean, is that worth it for the marginal boost it will give to all crew members? And there's only 2 crew members. Is this worth it at tier 2? I leave it up to you. There's only a very limited selection of equipment you can put on this tank anyway, because tier 2. Toolbox, waste of time. Enhanced gun laying drive, for 500,000 credits, no thanks. Coated optics, ditto, and an extra 10% of rubbish is still rubbish. I mean, it'll bring your view range up to 330, big whoop. Binos, I do use, but binos you can transfer from machine to machine to machine freely without demounting them, so it's not as if they're limited to this tank. Ditto for a camo net, spore liner, waste of time, so I've got vents, camo net, and binos. That would be my recommendation. Consumables, I have your 3 standard consumables, but frankly you could probably make the case that you don't want to bother with consumables because it's a tier 2 machine. And a lot of people, when they received this, they probably played one battle in it and then sold it for the free garage slot. But that's what I've got. I mean, I guess if you really wanted to, you could take on a giddy. Extra 10% to all crew skills, but Jesus, this crops in at 20,000 credits per pop. Even 10,000 credits if you're not running. If you're not buying it half price, and you don't make the profit. I mean, this is not going to be anyone's seal clubber of choice. It's just not a good enough tank for that. I don't think that's going to... I just wouldn't bother. Is what I'm trying to say in my own roundabout blustery way. Ammo loadout, I've got 90 rounds of AP, 12 of premium AP and no HE. I'm not sure I've ever used the premium AP, and I'm not sure if I did that it did any better than regular AP, but I've got it there, whatever. No point talking about crew skills because this is a premium machine. You just use your crew from your regular Japanese light tanks, and there brings in a problem of this machine. It only has 2 crew members, and the Japanese light tanks only go up to tier 4. And so actually it can be a problem having a crew that actually will sit in this machine. Now the Keho, I haven't played this in ages, but for some people it's a bit of a keeper. I don't remember being massively impressed with it, but then I don't remember being horrified by it either. It seemed okay. But you may decide that you want to keep that and have the crew sit in your Tech A. I certainly wouldn't recommend having a dedicated crew for this machine. Just seems like a bit of a waste, frankly. Is there anything else to say? I don't really think there is. Let's just go and have a look at a bit of gameplay, if I can get my words out. And here's the game I had to show you. This is of course a tier 2 game, as you can see. And we are here on Mines. That's the name of the map. Now, of course, since they changed the map rotation, if you play low tier games, or basically they changed the map rotation so that the maps are introduced more gradually to people as they progress up the tiers. I don't know if that was the intention, but that's certainly one of the results. And that means that if you are driving around in a tier 2, if you're in a tier 2 game, it will be on one of 2 maps. One is this one, Mines, and the second is Mittengard, which is a map that I personally utterly despise. But there we go. So, here we are. I'm going for the hill on the basis that it gives you good fields of fire across the map. Now the Tech A isn't the fastest machine in the world. Oh, and that's a T-18. Do not want, whole worlds of do not want. If they can take that T-18 and possibly the cruiser down, then I might actually try and put myself up on the hill again. But if those guys are going to sit there, I am not interested at all. There we go, T-18 down. And suddenly I feel much safer for going up on the hill. I did not want to eat a 75mm HE shell and die. Anyway, we're making it up onto the hill. We get a bit lucky that that cruiser doesn't put shots into us. It looks like he's using the pom-pom. And we've taken the hill. Scoreline is 2-2. An Archbishop Desmond, if you will. Now, our team hasn't actually sent anybody into the town on this map, and one of the great things you can do from the hill is check out the town, see if there's anyone there, put shots into them if there are, assuming you've got the gun depression. And one thing that the Tech A has in abundance is gun depression, which is nice. Lol Tractor pokes himself out, but then decides better of it. Don't manage to get a shot on him. And I'm moving to see if I can do something about that BT2 before he wrecks some of our tank destroyers or artillery, which could be a little bit sad. I'm up here, of course, with a Chini. I haven't actually played the Chini myself, I don't think. I think I went through the light line. The Chini a light or a medium tank? I think it's a medium tank. Yeah, looking at what's available, it must be the medium. I went through the light line to get to the Japanese medium, so I haven't actually played that. The scoreline is now 5-6. We haven't been able to get any shots on that BT2, which is a little unfortunate. In fact, we haven't actually been able to get any shots on anyone so far. And that round didn't even hit the BT2, which is rather sad. Oh, BT2 is dead. Scoreline is 6-6. So it hasn't exactly been a very eventful game so far. Just pottering around. And medium Mark II. Oh dear. Now, he appears to be distracted by someone else, giving me the opportunity to put shots into him. Distracted by that T-18. Well, that does make sense. Someone else puts a round in or two, leaving the guy on low health. Can we ninja the kill? Yes, we can. Don't even bother stopping. Scoreline is 7-6. So there's our first bit of damage and our first kill on that unfortunate medium 2. There's an AT1, and I'm moving forward to see if I can spot anyone with my binos. There we go. Panzer II just pulling back so that the bush is opaque, and they won't be able to see us through the bush, and then we bounce on the side of the Panzer II. This gun is kind of lackluster. It really is. Especially when you consider that, to the best of my knowledge, this tank does not get limited matchmaking. There we go, we've spotted, and we've put a shot into that Panzerjäger 1. So this thing will see tier 3s. And this gun is a little on the lackluster side when you're referring to trying to take out tier 3s. So, there we go. Even tier 2s, as you saw there. Don't want to stay in that position too long, because the enemy do have an artillery piece. Screw the artillery, the enemy do have tanks to be able to shoot me there. If I get spotted, 81. Oh, I can see his back drive wheel. This could be quite amusing. There we go. Pick up the kill on him. There's kill number 2. Scoreline is 9-9. We're kind of getting to the nitty-gritty end of this game now. So what's left? The enemy team have that Panzerjäger 1, who we put a shot into, but has 3 kills. A T-57 artillery piece on 2 kills. This is, of course, before they shuffled around, I should mention, before they shuffled around the, hello T-57, the artillery pieces. And you can see that I'm preloading a gold round after my AP round, because I wasn't confident I'd be able to penetrate that artillery's front. T-57 actually has quite good armour on the front of it for an artillery piece, and this gun could well bounce. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, when I saw that T-18 earlier on, it was still a tank destroyer when I played this game. It hadn't yet been turned into an artillery piece, so that's something worth bearing in mind. Panzer II is pushing into our artillery now. So I'm going to see if I can try and, if not save him, then at least avenge him. Yes, I know, I just quoted... Was it actually the Avengers film? Yes, it was. Stark says that to Loki, yes. I was trying to think if it was actually the Avengers or one of the other kind of films leading up to it. We bounce on the side/rear of that Panzer II because, did I mention this gun is not particularly good? There we go, 1 shot into him. And that shot misses. BT2 just rammed our D1 to death, and suddenly we're on the back foot. The scoreline is 10-12. There are 3 of us remaining, and we're all up on this hill. BT2 is being perhaps a little enthusiastic. But remember, our gun isn't very good. 1 shot into his rear, someone else finishes him off, I take a round from the Tetrarch, who is also killed. 3 plays 3, as the Panzerjäger picks up his top gun. Tetrarch nails our Chini, I put a shot into the Tetrarch. There are now 2 of us remaining. Ooh, and the Panzerjäger finishes off the enemy Panzer II. 2 plays 2. Panzerjäger's on 7 kills. Good lord. Yeah, I know. So, what to do? Now, the Panzerjäger's saying spot, and I'm going, yep, sure, fine. Panzerjäger has a nice gun. I do not. I may not be particularly quick, but I'm quicker than he is. It makes far more sense for me to spot them and him to do the shooting. So, that's what I'm going to do. We know roughly where the Tetrarch is, and I know where the Panzerjäger was last spotted. No guarantee, of course, that he'll still be there. But then again, this is a tier 2 game, and people are often not very imaginative. Put a shot into the Tetrarch, I take a shot from the Tetrarch, and our Panzerjäger, who is called UK Special Forces, by the way, takes the guy out for kill number 8. Not a Radley Walters medal, of course, because you can't get a Radley Walters medal on a tier 2 game. I let them know that the enemy TD is on about half health. And, well, I wasn't sure if he was going to still be sat in the position in which I last saw him, but considering all of his friends just died and we've seen neither hide nor hair of this fellow, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that he's not too far away from his last known location. And there he is, and there he goes. He had indeed not strayed too far from his own base. So that was actually enough for an Ace Tanker award, despite not being a particularly fantastic game, and fire for effect. We picked up 417 damage, got 3 kills, 615 base experience. Massive shout out to UK Special Forces in his Panzerjäger 1. 713 damage, 9 kills, and 834 XP is quite a tasty result at tier 2. 17 shots fired, 12 hits, 10 pens for that damage count. We also picked up a little bit of assistance, 224 assistance into the bargain, and made about a 10,000 credit profit. And once you'd included the ×2 experience and the bonus for it being a premium vehicle, we made about 1700 experience from that, all with the standard account, of course. So yeah, that was the Tech A in action. Just go and finish things off in the garage as per usual. So what about this machine overall? Well, this is probably not going to come as a massive surprise. It's not particularly good. These reward tanks are often not particularly good, and this does not break the trend. I mean, it gets good gun depression, and that's it. The mobility is nah, the gun is the armor is the machine, the gift tank to which this is the most directly comparable, I think, because it's a single shot gun basically, is where are you? The Tetrarch, and the Tetrarch's just better. So much better. The armor's even better, which is laughable. The mobility is better. The gun is better. The tank is better. I think the Japanese machine gets better gun depression, but that's about it. So, I mean, if you don't already have this, or you sold it and you're considering whether you want it back, it's not for regular sale in the gift shop. It might occasionally be available as part of a, or not necessarily as part of a bundle, but as a free add-on to a rather expensive bundle, and in which case, if you really want to, go for it, I guess. And occasionally, it might become available through a little mission or something, I don't know, but don't go out of your way trying to get it. It's really a collector's item. If you want it, and you get an opportunity and you're a collector and you don't mind splurging some money at it, get it, I guess. But it's not a particularly good machine, and if you don't own it, you're not missing out on anything. I can't really recommend it. There are a whole host of tier 2s in the game that are far better than this. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that short review. Possibly even found it vaguely informative. If you did, then by all means check out some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel. And I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao, ciao.